welcome back to Here We Are. Now that we've got the business out of the way, I'd like to introduce you to a magnificent person. He is a musician, Louis Satterfield, a living legend. Those of you who know anything about Earth, Wind, and Fire, or anything about music in general, you are acquainted with Mr. Satterfield. Welcome to the show.
I'm glad to be here.
Okay.
And it's awfully nice of you.
Now, I'd like you to share with the audience. I mean, most of us know you as being associated with Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yes.
Music of the 70s, some of the most prolific and wonderful music anywhere to be heard or found.
Yes.
But you're also associated with many other groups and artists too, is that right?
Yes, and actually I would say that I'd have to mention Maurice, Donald Myrick. We all lived here in Chicago for many years. I mean, prior to the formation of Earth, Wind, and Fire, the development of that band, the concept was developed out of where we were in school at Crane Junior College many years ago. And we developed a band called the Jazz Men. We only played jazz, you know, which we would go to the Notre Dame Jazz Festival. We'd win. They had them little contests. We went there. They had another show around here called the Harvest Moon Festival. We won all of that, you know, with this band, you know.
Great.
So that concept, that was our jazz. And we only, at that time, we were only interested in jazz, you know. But then we realized we could play the blues, you see. And so...
Now, what did you play for Earth, Wind, and Fire?
Well, I played the trombone, but I taught the bass player. I mean, he's one of my students.
Great.
Verdine White.
Verdine White.
Verdine.
Verdine White.
Yes, and I played bass when I was here prior to the inception of Earth, Wind, and Fire. I did a lot of recording here on the bass guitar with people like Chuck Berry, Curtis Mayfield, many songs with him.
Wow. Now, during the time of Earth, Wind, and Fire, I think I must have been about 5 or 6 years old, but I remember these wonderful album covers. I mean, people used to put them on their wall.
Yeah.
It really let me know that Earth, Wind, and Fire was more than just a band that played music.
Yeah.
I mean, it was about sending a message, you know, and it seems as though there's a great loss now in terms of that kind of music and the showmanship that you guys produced back there in the 70s.
Well, it was one of the things that we realized we always wanted to be about doing what's right and to do it proper, you know. So therefore, we were introduced to a man named Mr. Black, and he would tell us things on how we should conduct ourselves as men and how we're supposed to treat people. The purpose of music, which is to bring all people together. Music has only one purpose.
Well, you guys did that.
Yeah, and then like we realized, he taught us about in the beginning of all cultures, music was only performed for spiritual ceremonies, not no foolishness, which is okay, you know. And then the album covers, and that came from just understanding people. We studied all kind of music. There was a period in my life when we just sit down and we'd buy records from every country in the world and just listen to it and see how we were related to it, where do we fit in. And we didn't have many problems in fitting in any of it. Most of us understood Maurice, Don, myself, and some other guys who were in on the inception of the band. Donna Hathaway was one of the guys. You know, he played on our first records with. The name of the first name was the Salted Peppers. That was the name of the band.
Okay.
And then Mr. Black was the one who gave us the name Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Wow.
Based on the astrological, I think during that period, it was just Earth, Wind, and Fire signs in the band.
Okay.
So that's how Maurice, he's a fire sign, I'm a fire sign.
Okay.
Then there was an earth sign, you know. It's just something, just a little something, simple something. But then he taught us about how to be, to understand wisdom, perseverance, courage, and love. To know, to do. First is to know. You got to know when you don't know. You got to know when you know. Sometimes people, when you hear people say, "If I'd only known," whether it's too late, you know. But the thing is that it was based on intellect. Try to be as intelligent about whatever you've done, and they're spiritual, you know.
Well, that certainly was reflected in the way the group carried itself, the kind of music you guys made, the lyrics, the sound. It was just a unique sound no one could find anywhere else.
That's right.
But now you personally have worked with a lot of different people. I mean, just a long list of people that I have here that I'm just shocked. The Jacksons, Phil Collins, ABBA, Aretha Franklin, Denise Williams, The Emotions, Jerry Butler. Why, I mean, I could just go on and on. I mean, what did you do with all of those different artists?
Well, I recorded many albums with Curtis Mayfield, many albums with, he left off Etta James, you know, one of my favorites, but that was, it just, I think when we got into recording, it was easy to understand the various artists because we that's what we were about, you know. If they didn't sing jazz, it was either rhythm and blues. And it's just a great love for the music, and if I come to you, I want to just get all the way into you, you know. I drop my, I'm not necessarily, it's not about me.
Right.
And to understand, to walk up and understand you, you know. I mean, to perform, I tell you what we used to say, to be able to record with Muddy Waters and then record with Curtis is like day and night. They're both very serious, they're very good, but it's different.
Now, what did you do with Muddy Waters?
Oh, let's see, Muddy and Brass. One of the biggest things was Electric Mud.
Electric Mud?
Yeah, which turned out to be one of his biggest albums.
Yeah, yeah.
And this month, we're doing a documentary film on a lot of that, and we're recording. We're using the guys who were in that Electric Mud band. Pete Cozy, Philip Upchurch, Morris Jennings, Gene Bodge, and then there's going to be a producer, a friend of ours, Chuck D.
Chuck D.
And then this youngster, his name is Common Sense, is going to do something on it.
So you into the movies, music and choreography too?
Well, we're going to do this one. It's going to be, it seems like it's going to be something big. We're going to record it here in Chicago. I just moved here a couple of years ago, you know, from California. I'm sure I moved here with my daughter and my son-in-law, and we are building a studio on 45th Street.
You are?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's something that our audience certainly needs to know about.
Yeah, and
you guys are going to come to the south side of Chicago and build a studio.
We're already there. I mean,
you're already there.
It's about complete, you know. And
okay, that is wonderful.
And the name of the studio, I think, is going to be Inner City. Inner City Studios.
Inner City Studio.
Yes.
Okay.
And my daughter, Demia, and Mr. Ron Tutwiler.
Okay.
They're working vigorously and diligently. Right now, I see them working.
It sounds like something that's going to be exciting.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the place for kids to
right
come
now, there's
and
not
cut
a
albums and I mean, place for kids to come and cut tracks.
Yes, and get acquainted with what I mean. The music. There's a lot of music in the world, and a lot of it come from our spirit. It come from straight from the South Side. I mean, we're not fussing about it, but you know. So therefore, a lot of youngsters. I mean, sometimes we sit in. I played and on all levels. If somebody want to see somebody like Aretha Franklin, Dionne Warwick, or some of the youngsters, they can't even, they will never see them, you know. Right. I mean, it shouldn't be like that because as our culture goes back, everybody participated. There was nobody, you know, wasn't no such thing, no star. I mean, he was outstanding, but the music is for the people, so therefore we like to maintain that kind of understanding about it, you know.
Great.
And it's the music, I mean, the studio is for everybody all over the world. It's something that we are building and that I think we'll all be proud of. And we want, you know, you're not no shimmy sham,
right.
You know.
Now let me ask something about yourself again, because I was interested in all of the people that you work with. It seems that, you know, in sports they have what you call a go-to guy. In the last few minutes of the game, you know, they have a person that they go to that they know can always pull it out. I mean, all the people you work with, it seems like folks have just gone to you when they wanted to put together certain kinds of music.
I hadn't thought about it like that, but I am sincere, and music is my life. I have the attitude, my attitude is if you do the work, you get paid. And I don't even use the word work. I say perform because it's different, you know. It's different work is different from performing.
Yes.
I've been in a situation where I was playing music and it was work, you know. But I would never let on like that. But I always say perform because it gives me another attitude also. I mean, the go-to guy would be, I've said many times, I don't break the time and we don't mind dying, you know, for something that you really love. You know, music is directly connected to God. It's something that it don't come from no place else, you know.
Right.
So we can, and it's very powerful. Like I said, it has one purpose. So when you sit down, you must be sincere about it. And I think, I say it a lot of times, I do really appreciate the gift that God gave me to understand. If you start beating and playing something, I understand it. And so far I've been capable of enhancing whatever you beat or sing or play. I mean, it used to amaze, I used to just sit and wonder about it. It was a one, I said, and then I said, okay, I just hunched my shoulders. But now I realize it's something that I don't consider myself to be better than nobody, but I do understand.
Do you see any changes in the music industry about how music gets produced
The industry.
now and some of the stuff that's coming out that the young people are producing that may be connected or disconnected from the music of the 70s and the kind of things that you all?
It's all connected. I mean, it's just different times. You know, like people talk about, I can refer to rap a little bit. That's the latest art form.
Rap and hip hop
and so that come about the same way that this doo-wop. When doo-wop first, it goes back past your age and stuff, but doo-wop was not really accepted at first because it was developed by guys who were head rag. You know, they used to call them do-rags. And they were the processors and stuff. And they didn't go to school. A lot of them, if they did go to school, all they did was sing. They were not considered to be the kind of kids who, you know, they were somewhere like. So, and then in the rap, the so-called throwaway people. Nobody cared nothing about them. So here they come up with something. If they went to school, they wouldn't have been talking like that. They wouldn't have never thought of that. They wouldn't, you know, it's just something that happened.
Okay.
But it's natural.
So they were sort of outcast and they developed their own
and then
language, music form.
Well, you know, then language, and then they talk about, well, that's all they know, they're in the streets. So when you notice what they're doing and they're making money, and they selling and they talking crazy. Well, they've been talking like that. They don't even know what you talking. What you mean? And they got a pistol. You know. So what do you? But all that's gonna come about. You know, it all goes through these phases. You know, even jazz was. You know, it was not really accepted at first. You know, it was just something that people they say. You know, all of it goes through. So I don't know. That's what happens here in the West, because we have to wait for some kind of approval, which is fine. But we don't mind that. I mean, it's something, when it comes from God, when God make it, it's just gonna happen. If it's happening right now, all we can do is talk about it.
Yeah.
And then it's up to us. If it is here and it's something you don't like, if it's something you don't like about it, then we got some work to do.
Right.
And we can improve on it. We can pull people to the side and look. And that's what's happening in these.
Well, see, that's something that always comes through the music that you've been associated with.
Yeah.
God, upliftment,
Yeah.
spirituality.
Yeah.
So music is supposed to do more than just tickle your ears or just have a beat. It's supposed to inspire. Is what
That's right. That's right. I mean, it can be entertaining, but it has a purpose.
Right.
And when you hear music, you can sell dog food with music because it's so powerful. You know, when you turn on the TV, you know, first thing you hear is the music, da 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 da. Without that, if you turn the TV, ain't no music, well, you know, you say, yeah, that's cool. You know.
Speaking of TV, you were associated with the movie Friday too.
Oh yeah, with Ice Cube.
Ice Cube. What did you do for them?
We did the soundtracks. You know, we were involved in the soundtracks of the Phoenix Horns.
Oh, the Phoenix
Horns.
See,
I played in that group. I played the trombone. That was Don Dolomite, the great soloist.
Okay.
Saxophone soloist. Wow. Michael Harris and Ron Lee. So we did a lot of things with Ice Cube, and then there was Warren G. and some other guys I won't name it, you know. But it doesn't matter.
Now, do you expect some of those guys to visit the studio too when it's up and running on the south side?
Of course, they would be glad to. I mean, because it's going to be first top flight.
Okay.
You know, and I have this B-Love Productions.
Okay.
That's the company that we have,
Okay.
and it's very powerful.
Okay. Be Love
and-
Productions.
And one of the first productions we've done, they're giving a roast
Mm-hmm.
for me on October 24th at the Park West Theater.
The Park West Theater,
Yeah.
October 21st.
And Miss Unita Rushing is one of the members. And matter of fact, she's the CEO.
Okay.
And Miss Marguerite Mariama,
Okay.
Dr. Marguerite.
Okay.
And then Miss B and Miss Levette Edwards and Miss Carolyn Forche. I ain't said
that's
Mr.
great.
Nobody yet, but they're very efficient and they're very nice people, and they're concerned about not only our existence but all the people. We have to start thinking about everybody and everything. You know, we can't go into it with that one-sided situation where, you know, this is for us and this is for you. There's
Well,
something
you know,
wrong with
just a roast for someone of your stature is
Yeah.
not enough. I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
you know, for
that's
you to
all.
even be thinking about
Yeah.
coming back
that. Yeah.
to Chicago and the South Side at that, to
Yeah.
make an investment in the community and
Right.
the people to bring something beautiful and wonderful.
Right.
That is really, really great.
I thank you for that understanding, because it's not the place, it's the people, and it's what you do.
Mhm.
If we sit here and there's a lot of people around here, it's us, me and you. If we don't pick it up, then we have to, you know,
Right, right.
people look and say, "What's wrong with you?"
Uh-huh.
That's all it is. It ain't nothing. And we can do anything,
Great.
and we must embrace everybody. I mean, I think we've been very fortunate. I think the music, in a way, I hope I don't sound biased, but I think the music tells me that by being so popular and everybody embracing it,
Mhm.
that we have the ability to bring all the people in the world together.
Yes.
That's what we think, you know. And it's what we think, though, you know. If we go out there and say, well, you know, and I think we can get it to the point where we can say, look, we don't need no guns and
Right.
things like that. What do you need atomic
Right.
bomb for? We got all this wonderful stuff. God still got it. If we blow this whole planet up to tomorrow, today, it is not going to change anything.
Right.
The sun will be there tomorrow,
All
the
we
moon, everything. You know, it
destroy it
just
ourselves.
nothing.
Mhm.
So it's not going to get to that point. But I think there's no reason for anybody to be afraid of anything, and to continue all this little bit of it's like selfish attitudes. Give me my ball, I'm going home, I ain't gonna play with you no more. I mean, we gotta elevate ourselves above that. I mean, that's all it's, the killing game. It's terrible.
Okay.
Why?
Great.
Selfishness and greed. You know, I
You've said it all.
ain't got enough. But the music tells us that.
Mhm. And
We're-
I'm sure it does. I want you to tell us some more about
Okay.
the roast that's coming up
Okay.
for you next month, and then talk a little bit more about that studio that you
No,
guys
that's in
are
October.
planning.
That's like October 20th.
We have to go to a break now.
Oh, no. Okay.
We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Way to go about that. Choose your road. Just don't doubt it. So
We're back with Living Music History, Louis Satterfield, a man who's played the trombone, the bass, with some of the greats. We're having a fireside chat with him, and he has told us that he's opening up a music studio on the South
48 tracks.
Side. 48 tracks.
I mean,
Wow.
it's a state of the art.
State of the art.
And it's for people who can develop, and we're developing young people. It's for youngsters, you know, to understand what they can do. I mean, and really be concerned about it, you know, so they don't.
Now, you guys are going to be providing some jobs, too. You're looking
All
for
that kind
producers
of
and
whatever,
engineers and
producers.
artists, huh?
And then it gets off into the marketing aspect of it,
Okay.
promotions,
Wow.
distribution. I mean, it's a big,
So this is
wide thing, you know.
Economic development, too, for the
Yeah, I
neighborhood.
mean, yeah, right there. I mean, we've been making music. I've been making music all my life. I know we can do that. I mean, it seems like we the clapping, us, dancing, us, singing as people in the world. So certainly we can.
That's right.
I mean, we can share in part of what
Right.
some of the monetary aspect of this great musical industry, the so-called industry they have here,
Great.
with no problems. You know, we're not trying to come in and tear the playground down, but I think we can come. I think we have a responsibility and a duty to a lot of young people, not only blacks but whites, to offer them an opportunity to see into the.
So how large a space do you guys got over there? You gonna
Well,
have
I started out saying we have 48 tracks. It was an old coach house. It's on 45th and 4500 Michigan.
That's where the Chicago Urban League building is, right?
It used to be, but they moved next door.
Okay.
But it was a coach house in the back, perfect for a studio.
Oh.
So upstairs, my son-in-law and my daughter, my son-in-law Ron Tutwiler and my daughter, Damia Louise Satterfield. My wife named her Louise, behind Louis, right? But anyway, it'll be finished in I said by September, some proximity, you know.
Okay.
But
Good.
it's a 48-track studio, state of the art. Paul Serrano he built, he's been around for a long time. He built P&S Studios years ago.
Okay.
He's a genius, man. I mean, he built it with wires, but it was one of the finest studios in town, in the world. So he's associated with us. I mean, he's come in and helped us out
Great.
considerably, you know.
Now, before we forget, let me make sure the audience knows that they can send demos and resumes to Damia Satterfield,
Right.
77 East 45th Street.
Right.
That's Chicago 60653.
Right.
Right? They can send demos and tapes and their resumes because you guys are going to be hiring
Right.
artists and producers and engineers, everything that
Right.
that you guys need to put a studio together and make it top flight, right?
That's right. That's right.
Good.
And so the thing about it is that to be concerned, like I said before, I moved back here. I was in California about 30 years. And California is fine, but Chicago, I was born in Mississippi and I went to school here. And Chicago is one of the most progressive towns in the world. I can say that right now. I'm in the world right now. And there's a reason for that. It's the people, you know, all the people that are here, all the various people with the various ethnic background, when they come together to do something, it happens here. You know, whatever they say, it's a hard town, but who cares about that? It's just hard.
Right.
You know, so is a rock, you know.
Now, see, most folks would have thought you've gone up north somewhere to put your studio.
Well, yeah, you know, but I mean, let's see, when we was recording years ago, it was right where we are, not far from where we are now, 22nd Street.
With Chess Records,
Chess
right?
Records, yeah.
Yes.
And we were on staff there, you know. And we went there. It was a funny story because we made a big record with Betty Everett, You Know Good, You Know, baby.
That's
you know?
right.
So that was me, Maurice, and this is prior to us coming to Chess. We went up there with this idea about this is what we could do. We could turn out records, and we got a nice deal going. They give us a salary every week and pay us for the record. It wasn't a bad deal, you know. And we rolled with that for a while, and it turned out just the way we said. We made several hits, many hits, matter of fact.
Okay.
Coming out of that, that's when we started recording with Fontella Bass, Rescue Me, and that's what Muddy Water and all these people on that label, Willie Dixon, Etta James.
Okay.
So we had that kind of experience.
Wow.
So it was cool, but to go north, it doesn't matter where we go, but we know that if they got talented people up there, you got talented people over there, they got talented people right everywhere you go.
Right, right.
I mean, it's what people want to do.
So what do you expect to produce out of the studio?
What do we expect?
Yeah, do you expect some, to produce some new upcoming artists? Or
Well, I'm gonna tell you like this: the music comes through the youth. You know what I mean? They're gonna be the ones who, in the future, we just want to be able to give them opportunity to express themselves, and they would dictate it to a great degree. We'll always play the music we know, which is going to be on a high level. We'll know the music they're going to perform. It's got to be on a certain level. If not, then we would explain to them, this is not, go back and come back, or whatever, or maybe we might them going to the steel mill, or maybe we should get into promotions, or maybe we should get but if you want to be into music.
So you're going to help guide them along the right way, too.
I would like to be a part of that, because not ever discourage anybody from doing anything, because we all here we all have a purpose, sometimes we come to the situation where people don't understand that, okay, maybe I can't do this, but I'll do that. And they be kind of consistent about it, insistent. And you have to get around that. But the point is that we all can, share into the development and what the music is going to be in the future. So I'm glad to be a part of that.
That's wonderful.
I mean, I don't think. Sometimes we think we need this, we need that. We don't need no lot. I say, like and going back into the culture of the Africans in America, when the music played, or when everybody participated, it wasn't this thing that we have now. You know, everybody participated, even in the visual art, all of that. Even back to the drum, where everybody understood what it meant. You know, to be able to send a message on the drum is got to be highly intelligent. You don't need no wire, you don't need no punch buttons, you don't need no. Man, what is that? I think that was a great loss. Well, we haven't lost it really, cause like I think sometimes when I hear the drum, some movies boo boo boo, and then most of the music of today is based on that boom doo doo doo.
Yeah.
You know,
a lot of bass in the music.
Yeah, on that bass and the drum, the goom goom goom, the rhythm. And so when you hear it, you say, something happens, you know. I think that's so wonderful, you know. And then at the same time, everybody in the world, in every country, from China on, they embrace this. It's something very special about the music that comes from our spirit. And I think
Speaking of China, you've done some international work too.
I've never been to China. You know, I've never been to China. I've never been to Jamaica.
But you've done different things.
Yeah, you've been all everywhere, all around the world.
Wow.
Many times. Skip China, and Africa. Well, you know, that's a whole nother story. I could explain why, you know, but it's not necessary. We just never did. But they have the music there.
Oh, okay.
We know that. But the thing is, but I was saying is that they embrace the music, and it just makes me feel wonderful about it. To come out of a situation where we lost our language and the instruments, and we come out playing, making music that's, you know, just good for everybody, you know.
Okay.
Not worrying about it, you know.
But now you did hit Japan, is that right?
Oh yeah, Japan is a wonderful place.
Okay.
I mean, it's like they're into live and let live. I think that was something I really that God wanted me to see, and what you can do, you know. They're hard-working people, very hard. They work so, but the key to their success is working together.
Yes.
I remember, like every night, you know, they pack up our equipment. We got these trucks, big truckloads, 2 or 3 big trailers. Man, everywhere else in the whole world, it take them all night to pack up this list. These guys, man, we were first place was in Tokyo at the Budokan. Before we finished eating our little lunch after the gig, they was through, blue. And I know it's like in the hotel room, when they come in, it'd be about 4 ladies. They say, shh. Not, don't send one and work the heck out of one of them. You know, like in most hotels, they one maid or somebody change. Right. Man, they send 4 of them and they'd be so quick. He'd be done so quick. But I noticed that's the way they operate. I think that's what's wrong with the world. I mean, it's the attitude is kind of flipped around. I think the attitude should be, what can I do to help you?
Right.
If me and you get together, that's power. Yeah.
Some of your travels in Africa, do you see some
I never went there. The only place I went in Africa was Northeast Africa and Egypt.
Northeast Africa.
Yeah,
wow.
I could explain some stuff, but I mean, you know, we just went there because we never had been there before. Okay. We were on our way to Japan from France. Okay. And we said, well, we want to go. You want to go back? We said, well, let's not go back home. Where can we go? They said, let's spend some money and go to Egypt.
Wow.
And so we was making a little money.
So based upon what you've heard or what you've experienced, do you see some relationship between the music that's produced by Native Africans and the African Americans?
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, we understand it inexplicably. No mistake. That's what I said years ago. We studied everything. We listened to all records.
Wow.
All music from everywhere. Because that's where we met in school, Crane Junior College. But we were interested in music from everywhere. Brazil is the top. Now, don't make no mistake now. Brazil, they kind of tops when it comes to the music and how it's performed. And they perform, them guitar players, the drummers, about like up in Bahia. Okay. Man, they got the drum. I mean, they ain't changed since they left Africa, you know. It's the same, basically they eat the same food, the same dress. And then
wow.
And Bahia, that's up in Northeast Brazil.
Okay.
You know, but and that's one country you hear me expound. You Mr. Japan. I'm saying Brazil, boy.
Okay. And I'm sure we can talk forever, but we kind of wrapping up now.
Okay.
So
No, wait, hold, we can't.
This has been a wonderful conversation with this man.
Yeah, I've
a
enjoyed
truly
it too.
living legend. I want to make sure I get in a plug for another plug for your
Yes.
studio.
Yeah.
And that folks that are interested have to send demos and resumes to Damia Satterford. 77
Satterfield.
Satterfield, excuse
Yeah,
me.
that's okay.
77 East 45th Street, that's Chicago 60653. She also has an email address, DAMIA Satterfield, SATTERFIELD @AOL.com. Anyone who's interested can send that information to her via mail or email. Or you can call the production company, B-Love, at 773-846-8113. Okay?
No, that B-Love production, that production company is the one that's
Okay,
putting
sorry,
on
we have to go now. Thank you for...
that's putting on the, that's putting on the